Welcome to the Multi-Orgasmic Mama podcast, where sexual taboos are broken. I'm Tilly Storm, holistic sex coach and jade egg and tantric sex teacher. I work with luxury lovers, teaching them the art of better sacred sex by helping them remove all their blocks to pleasure, turn on confidence and connection, so they can step into their fullest potential and power as humans and alchemists in the 3D. If you'd like to learn how to release shame and guilt destroying your sex life so you can feel fully sexually liberated and free, you can access my How to Release Shame and Guilt training at www.tillystorm.com/shame. This episode is brought to you by the Sensually Embodied Woman Collective. If you're ready to remove all your blocks to pleasure, turn on and feeling confident and sexy in your body through my paid programs and offerings, then head to www.tillystorm.com today. Hey there, my luxury lovers. It's Tilly Storm, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit about what you can do if you've lost your mojo and your motivation in your love life, your sex life, your relationships. This is for maybe those of you who have gone through a big life transition and you've lost your mojo. A lot of new moms, that tends to happen commonly. Maybe you are in a rut in your relationship and the sparks you once felt in the beginning dissipated. You are really thriving on those initial relationship hormones, which most of us do. And then when they go away after about 6 months to a year, we're just like, oh crap, what do I do now? And maybe you have been a little jaded in your love life, trying to find a partner, going on a ton of dates, and just nothing is working out. And maybe you've tried at love and relationships like I did for many years, and it never worked out the way that I wanted it to, and you got sick of trying anymore. I think the only thing that got me through the last terrible divorce and breakup was just the one thing I'm going to share with you today. I think I would have just given up if it weren't for step number 1 that I'm going to be sharing with you. So if that's you, definitely tune in because this is super important. And, what do you do if you've lost your mojo and motivation and you just don't even know how to get started and to find it? Well, you can do 2 things, right? You can settle for the status quo and just go along your ho-hum life, and maybe something exciting will happen eventually. And unfortunately, that's what most people do. That's what 99% of people do. But since you're listening to this podcast, then I have no doubt that you are not one of them, right? I doubt you're one of those people because you've sought out help. You're seeking out help just by tuning in and listening to this. So thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up and trying to do something in the first place to help yourself. It's a great, great start. Well, after the past year and a half, a lot of people out there have lost their mojo and motivation. So it's not just you. We've all been wearing freaking athleisure and straight up zooming from our PJs, for God's sake, for a year and a half. So if it's been difficult for you to even get dressed in the morning and, you're just like, dang it, I wish I had a reason to dress up again. I totally get that. That's one thing that's been driving me nuts lately. But, I just have certain days of the week where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get dressed for no reason, even though it doesn't even matter. So if you're in a slump around your sex life, your relationship, I just want you to know that you can get your mojo and motivation back to create an epic sex life and relationship today. So I'm going to show you how. There are 4 steps. The first, and this is the one that got me through the my last breakup. That was really terrible in 2017, 18. Remember your big why. What's the thing that's driving you to not stay in the rut? For me, it was the inner voice and the knowing inside that said to not give up, because this was my path. Sacred relationship was my path. I just knew in my bones that building and creating and sustaining a sacred relationship was for me. I can't tell you how I knew that, but I just did. And I hung on to that for dear life, that inner knowing. So maybe it's that you know you are also meant for more. You're meant to experience epic sex and an epic relationship. So let this inner knowing drive you. Keep connecting to that inner knowing and affirming it day in and day out. Instead of giving more power and authority to the inner critic or that part of you that's jaded and just wanting to give up, I want you to practice strengthening the voice inside that says, not so, honey. You are meant for more. You are meant for more. You are meant for this. This inner knowing is your true compass. If you didn't have it, it wouldn't be for you. And the fact that you do have it means it is for you. Just because you have it, if you trust and follow that and you give it more of a voice, it will ultimately lead you to where you want to go. Now, that's not to say that you won't experience some challenges and heartbreaks along the way, because you will. That's inevitable. But you will ultimately get where you want to go just because you have the desire for it. But you have to learn to trust that inner knowing and to give it more of a voice than the negative parts of you that want you to stay stuck in the rut exactly where you are. Step number 2 to getting your mojo and motivation back is to get to the root cause. What's really keeping you from experiencing your mojo and feeling motivated? Well, there's always a root cause that has to be addressed in order to reclaim this. And getting clear on what that is will prevent you from running around trying to fix all of the aspects of your life and just allow you to focus on the one or the two things that are really the reason that everything is feeling so hard. So if you're struggling in your sex life, your relationship, what are the top 3 reasons that this is the case? I want you to get curious. I want you to do a quick gut check. What do you think is holding you back from having an epic sex life and relationship? When you are clear on what's holding you back from what you want, that means you get to start to see a way out, which leads me to step number 3. Remember that you are the hero or the heroine of your own life. You are a sovereign being who co-creates with something bigger than you. You are not a victim to your life unless you believe in that lie. And I'll tell you, most people have bought into that lie. Victimhood is rampant in our society. People love to blame their partners, their exes. Oh, they love to blame everyone. They love it. They love to take offense to people too. Oh my gosh, the amount of people being offended at anything and everything right now. Oh my God, it blows my mind. Okay. You are not a victim. Having a victim mindset will never, ever, ever get you where you want to be, ever. Feeling like a victim to your life or blaming your partner or the lack of a partner, or maybe you even blame God for not having what you want, it's just affirming an illusion, honey, an illusion. Victimhood is an illusion. The illusion that you are not a sovereign being capable of creating what you want. Well, honey, unlike Disney taught you, there is no one coming to save you but yourself. I hate to tell you that. I hate to break that fairy tale for you, but there is no one coming to save you but yourself. So start to see yourself as the creator of your reality, and you will move into a place of power where you have the ability to alchemize everything in the way of what you want. But if you stay in victimhood and blaming, you'll never be able to alchemize those blocks and obstacles in the way of you having an epic sex life and relationship, because you will always be subconsciously waiting for someone else to do it for you. And they never will. So when you feel victimized by your circumstances, you aren't able to find motivation, because when you're in victimhood, you don't have access to your creativity and your own interpersonal power, your own agency that allows you to see with a bird's eye view how you might be able to resolve the circumstance or the situation that you don't like. So I want you to ask yourself a few questions. Maybe you should write these down, and I'll also pause to give you just a moment to think about them and reflect on them. Maybe you're driving, whatever. Ask yourself this question. If you're honest with yourself, Have you been playing the sovereign being who can create anything she wants or he wants, or are you playing the victim of your story? Number 2, as a sovereign being who can create anything she or he wants, what's your next play? What's your next move? And number 3, what are you secretly wanting permission for that you need to grant yourself? Okay, so once you take 100% radical self-responsibility for your less than stellar sex life or relationship, the next thing that you're going to need to do is get a mentor, a guide, or a coach, such as myself. You are a sovereign being who can create whatever you want, but guess what? You are also a human. You're human, and needing support, guidance, and accountability is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of great inner strength. So getting your mojo and your motivation back, it isn't something that you're meant to do alone. If you've been through a rough breakup, if you've been through a rough time in your relationship, it's not to say that you're a failure because it was rough. It just means that you need support, and we all need support. And it has also been my experience that no true and lasting change and transformation happens in your own little bubble. You need support. You need reflection from people outside of you that will reinforce what it is that you're working on. But without that outside enforcement of love, safety, and belonging, it's almost impossible to create true transformation without knowing and feeling love, safety, and belonging. Y'all hear me talk about that all of the time on this podcast. The bottom line is you need support until you can find your way back to you and you remember, you come to a state of remembrance of all of the juiciness, all the desire, the passion, the lust for life, the joy, the mojo. It's in there. It's just been hiding underneath a lot of bullshit stories that you've been telling yourself are true that actually aren't true. And it's also underneath a ton of negative conditioning and trauma around relationship and sexuality. You'll find it. You just need some help clearing out those weeds. So my luxury lovers, if you're ready to get your mojo and motivation back, I have a great free resource for you. It's my Ignite Your Desire e-guide, and it will show you how to get your mojo back and why it's not there in the first place. And you can download it at www.tillystorm.com under the free stuff tab. And maybe you've already gotten it, but you haven't read it. If you're anything like me, you're someone who downloads all of the resources, but you never actually read them or implement or take action on them. So maybe it's time to go through your inbox, your spam or promotions folders, because remember, those email service providers don't like talking about sexuality. So often they will put my emails in your spam or promotions folder. So go dig through them, just search Tilly Storm and you'll find them. Okay, so if you have enjoyed this content, please subscribe to the podcast and leave me a 5-star rating and review to help share this little slice of podcast heaven with others. See you all next week. Bye.